America first, except for when it comes to road safety. America currently ranks third in the world for total road fatalities at over 45,000 deaths in 2021. This puts America only behind China, which has over 1 billion people, India, which also has over 1 billion people, and entire continents like Africa and Europe. As far as developed nations go, particularly ones that have as rich of a history of cars as America does, we have the most dangerous roads. So I guess America first is still correct. Naturally though, my first question was why? After all, Germany has no speed limits on its autobahn, the English drive on the wrong side of the road, and the Japanese only get where they're going sideways. After spending the past 2 weeks researching everything from crash statistics, license requirements, and all things driving internationally, I think I can finally say why Americans suck at driving. And the answer is that it's not really down to the drivers. Hopefully that will make sense by the end of this video. Hello people of the internet, I'm Nico, one of many Americans who thinks they're in the top 10% of drivers, but of course I actually am. And in this video I want to explain my theory on why America has some of the worst drivers of any developed nation. First of all, let's address the big claim about America having the worst drivers of any developed nation. One statistic pulled from a Wikipedia page should not be enough to convince you of that, even when there are videos like this of people swerving across 3 lanes to hit an exit ramp on social media. So to prove my case, let's take a closer look at where America ranks in the world. Back to this Wikipedia page I just referenced, I want to point out that this data is from the World Health Organization, so suddenly this Wikipedia page is more trustworthy than some American news channels. Anyway, this is a list of 191 countries and their death rates per 100,000 people. America sits here in 85th, between Mexico and Kazakhstan, 2 countries known for their immaculate infrastructure and safe drivers. No, that's not quite right, is it? Jokes aside, the point is America has no statistics that make it look as though we have safe roads. In fact, despite having half the population of all the countries in the European Union combined, America has twice as many road deaths. So for my math nerds, that is 4 times the road deaths per capita. And if you're wondering how we stack up against Asia, it's kind of a mixed pot because a lot of Asia is relatively new to driving, but if you want to compare to Japan, it's just going to prove my point further. Japan has less fatalities due to road traffic accidents than America has pedestrian deaths. Yeah, we have roughly 7,000 pedestrian deaths every year, and Japan has less than half as many road deaths, period. With all those facts stated, it's quite clear that Americans suck at driving. So instead of asking how bad is America doing, because the answer is really bad, we should instead be asking how do we put America firmly where Trump wants it, which is where? America first. Right. To do that though, we need to look at all the most likely reasons behind America's woeful statistics, and that means starting with a place literally run by sloths, the DMV. For any Europeans watching, this may not come as a surprise, but the driving test in America is way too easy. And actually, I would go as far as to say that this applies to the whole process, with the theoretical test, learning to drive, and then the driving test itself. And with that, let's run through the process of getting a license and compare that with another country known for its drivers, Germany. I really only chose Germany because I have friends and family living there, so I'm most familiar with their system of getting a license, so here goes. Starting with the US, because America first, we have the written test. Most nations also have a written test, Germany too, and both tests have various questions pertaining to road laws, procedures for different scenarios, and so forth. On average, over 50% fail this test in America, at least based off of the info that I could find, and that's with Utah having their test being open book. I'm not kidding, that is 100% true. Germany, meanwhile, has a 39% fail rate, and that's with a minimum passing score of 91% versus the 80% commonly seen here. So that's one more thing, aside from winning world wars, that Germany is better at than America. Moving on, in Alabama, you then need to spend at least 30 hours behind the wheel practicing driving before you can go take your driver's test when you turn 16. You can do this at a driving school, but the more popular option here seems to be having a parent or a legal guardian teach you how to drive. In Germany, though, things run a little differently. For starters, you need to go to a certified driving school and have an instructor teach you how to drive under all road conditions. There is no option to have your parents or legal guardian teach you to substitute the classes. You are required to attend at least 12 lessons where you practice everything from driving on the Autobahn, rural roads, and city streets, both during the day and at night. The real kicker though, aside from needing to be 18 to get your license in Germany, is the cost of it all. In America, the most you would ever pay for a test is $89 in the state of Washington. But in Germany, the cost of the required classes and test is somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 euros. That's about $1,600 to $2,100. This of course means that learners take the test and the classes more seriously, as they could quite literally not afford to fail. All that being said, it's only part one of the problem. Yes, of course, with lower requirements, there will be more unskilled drivers driving around on the roads, which inherently makes them more dangerous. But the real problem is not so much at fault with the drivers, but with the environment in which we Americans drive. If you think about how often you have to drive to get to where you need to go, it really is a lot. Grocery store? You're probably driving. Doctor's office or dentist appointment? Yeah, you're probably driving. Taking the kids to school? Also driving. Work? I can almost guarantee that most of you watching have to drive to get to work. Compare that to cities like London. You could hop on a bike, ride to the closest bus or train station, head into the big city, and get around it on another bus, the tube, or on foot. If you're in Amsterdam, you can ride your bike on more direct routes than those available to cars, and even if you're in a small town in Switzerland somewhere, you most likely can still use a tram or a bus to quickly cover some ground. Examples like this can be seen all over the world except here. For all that America does well, freedom of choice for how we move about the places we live or visit is not one of them. And while there are some examples of places where multimodal transportation is available, New York City being the most obvious example, most of America looks like this. To my American and maybe even my non-American viewers too, this view will be familiar. Stroads like this cover much of America, and yes, I said stroads. Stroads are a hybrid of streets, low-speed destinations with businesses or homes, and roads, high-speed travel corridors to move a large number of people. Like hybrid cars that possess both the pros and cons of gasoline engines and electric motors, stroads possess both the ease of access to every business and wide lanes designed for high-speed travel. But just like hybrid cars, this combination creates a terrible environment. Many stroads have high speed limits, often 45 miles per hour or even more, but also have vehicles constantly slowing down to less than 10 miles per hour in order to turn into a driveway of a business. Now, the very reason the interstate highway system in America does not have driveways is because high speeds are not really the dangerous part. The bigger danger is actually the high difference in speeds. Having wide, highway-sized lanes encourages fast driving, but when these high-speed roads are lined with businesses, each with their own entry and exit points, you suddenly mix low-speed cars with high-speed traffic, which greatly increases the chance of a collision. Even for a skilled, experienced driver, it is very difficult to be a safe driver when you have to merge with high-speed traffic from a dead stop on a side street. And yet, we constantly build roads that, in the best case, have unnecessary congestion from merging cars, and in the worst case, causes another fatal accident that pushes this tally that much further from the zero I think everyone wants us to be at. While the requirements for new drivers should be raised to ensure that everyone on the road really understands the rules of the road and can handle driving under all conditions, it is by no means the only reason for the ridiculously high death toll on American roads. What really needs to happen alongside the raised requirements for drivers is to have other options for people to get around. This would decrease traffic from lower car volumes, while also removing the most nervous and unskilled drivers who are most likely to cause crashes in the first place. And in order for those of us who still need to drive, or for those of us who still want to drive to remain safe, the roads we drive on should be designed in such a way that it is safe for those inside and outside of the car. That means turning stroads into either streets or roads, keeping different transportation methods from crossing paths with one another, and having traffic calming measures for any time these different transportation methods meet. If America really is the freest country on earth, then we should have the freedom of choice for how we move about the places we live and the places we visit. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more videos like this where I explain how the automotive industry affects our lives, then hit the subscribe button. It's free and it helps me out more than you might think. If you really enjoyed this video and would like to help support the channel and make these videos possible in the future, then consider joining my Patreon, where for like $3 a month, you can watch these videos ad-free and also some behind-the-scenes content whenever I do get around to making that. Thanks again for watching. Until next time, people of the internet, peace out.